Super. Okay, guys. So looks like about 90% of you are QuestBridge finalists who ranked Yale for the match, and a little under 10% of you are QuestBridge finalists who didn't rank any colleges. Again, we're going to cover things that will apply to both groups, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of different pathways that students can take. But again, I want to say, didn't show you my work there. I do want to say, congratulations to all of you. We are so happy that you're joining us. So happy that you are considering Yale as part of your college search process. As I said, we're going to try to cover a lot in our session today. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Corinne, who's going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to try to talk about tonight.
Thanks, Mark, so much. I'm so excited that you all are here with us. We just want to start the session by providing a bit of a guide for what the next 60 minutes or so are going to look like. We're going to kick off this session by talking a little bit about who we are and our Quest scholars at Yale. And then we're going to spend a bulk of the time period answering some very common questions about the QuestBridge Match and the QuestBridge application process. And if we have time, we're hopeful that we're going to get to as many questions live or pre-submitted as we can. We do want to make a note on that, though. You can submit questions through the Q&A box, but please know that this session is very much about the technical and logistic pieces of the QuestBridge application and kind of what's going to happen over the next few months. We're not really addressing the student experience on tonight's session. That said, we can definitely put some links in the chat if you want to join a virtual information session or take a tour at another time. We have 3 wonderful colleagues behind the scenes who are going to help us out with all of that. But please kind of be sure to keep it a little bit more technical in what you're wondering, things that we might not be able to address or that aren't on our website in this process. We know that it can be a bit confusing. After the session, if you do want to learn more about our campus, academics, and community, again, there's so many different offerings that we have. And then with that, we're going to head to this next page. And while I'm talking, I'm just going to introduce myself here and then kick it back over to Mark. My name is Corinne Smith, and I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Admissions at Yale. I'm also one of our QuestBridge coordinators, and I run all of our rural outreach and recruitment. So if you come from a rural or small town, hi, I'm so excited to meet you all, and the rest of you, I'm very excited as well. I am so excited to be joined again by our 3 colleagues behind the scene, as well as Mark. The 2 of us have been working together on QuestBridge for 4 years, and I can honestly say that reading these applications is one of our favorite times of year. We're also very proud to be a partner school with QuestBridge since 2007, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, so hi folks again. My name is Mark. I am an Associate Director of Admissions. Thrilled to sort of co-direct the Yale QuestBridge partnership, and thrilled that we've got so many of our team members here at the Yale Admissions Office who are an important part of this work and who are also helping out tonight. So special shout out to our colleagues Dara, Wendell, and Maura, who are behind the scenes answering questions tonight. What I want to start with is just another congratulations. I want you guys to take a big, deep breath. You all have already done the hard part. You have put together a complete college application. You have sent it off to a national organization, and you all have been selected as QuestBridge finalists. This is amazing. This is something that you and your family should feel really, really proud about. I hope that you are kind of going through school, kind of, listening to your peers who are talking about, I'm stressing out about this application and all that. And you're like, I'm done, guys. I've already got my application off. And I also want to acknowledge, this is a crazy time to be doing anything, especially applying to college. There's so much swirling around right now. There is so much uncertainty that we are all facing. And I know that layering on the college application process, which is filled with uncertainty even in normal times, can feel like a lot. What I want you guys to sort of take a deep breath, though, and reflect on is the fact that despite the fact that, sorry, Corinne and I will not be able to tell you tonight if you're going to get into Yale or if you're going to match or anything like that, I want to say with confidence right from the beginning tonight that if you're a QuestBridge finalist right now, you are going to a great college and you and your family are going to be able to afford that. Like, trust me, guys, I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel really, really confident saying that to each and every one of you who's here today. It's going to take a little while to figure out exactly where that's going to be. It might be a QuestBridge partner, might not, might be somewhere else, but you all are going to a great college. and you and your family are going to be able to afford it. So feel really, really good about that. As Corinne said, we are going to talk through a lot of the particulars about this stage right now. There are a few decisions that you all have to make. There are a few final things that you'll be putting together with your application. But the big important message that you all should remember is that the stakes at this point are not high. We're going to try to help you get through these last steps. But as I said, the hard part's over. And even though we're going to talk about a few different decisions and pathways and things like that, when it comes to Yale and our partnership with QuestBridge, there is no difference in terms of the way that students are advantaged or disadvantaged in the admissions process or their eligibility for our financial aid. So we are proud QuestBridge partners. For the biggest reason we're so proud QuestBridge partner is that it brings wonderful students like you into our applicant pool. They tend to go through all kinds of different directions, but it really, at the end of the day, doesn't matter. They're all headed to the same place. So again, before we descend into the particulars, we do want just to remind you that the stakes are not high around all of this. I also want to remind you that as QuestBridge finalists, your QuestBridge application is now your Yale application. You do not need to, and in fact, you should not submit another application. You should take the fact that QuestBridge recognized you as a finalist as a great indication that your application is competitive and in really, really good shape. So you should not submit a second application. You can't use two applications to apply to Yale. You also shouldn't try to replace something in your application. We'll talk about how you can provide updates if there's new information or something you want to add to the application you put together in QuestBridge. I know that was more than a month ago now for most of you that you put together that application, and throughout the senior year, new stuff's going to happen. But you don't need to be thinking about replacing things in your application or changing things in your application. Feel good about what you've done. You've already gotten a really good indication that it's in good shape. And so just finally, I want to say, there is no kind of crazy 3D chess associated with any of this. Sort of tamp down the kind of strategy, Game of Thrones element, of this. You are in a really, really good position. We're going to help you think about the next steps. So I'm going to let Corinne talk a little bit about what the Quest Scholars experience is like for students when they're here at Yale.
Thanks, Mark. I think you covered so many of the really important things, and I'm glad we're starting with this slide because I can already see so many questions coming in through the Q&A about how many students match, how many QuestBridge finalists are there at Yale. So right here, you can see the numbers. We are so proud to have over 400 Quest Scholars at Yale. That number is increasing every year. By next year, by the time we start, we'll probably have 500. Our Quest Scholars Network is very strong, engaged, supportive, and we hold a ton of different events every single year. I want to be clear that the admissions office works closely with our Quest Scholars even after they come to campus. We work with the organization on everything from putting on virtual sessions this fall, to having a kickoff event for Match Day in December, to throwing events for admitted students in the spring. So we definitely do not abandon our students once they arrive, and there are a lot of them that are coming and that we connect right away with the Quest Scholars Network. As you can see here, last year we had over 87 matches, but we're actually more proud of the fact that we admitted 198 total QuestBridge finalists last year. So that could have been students in the match round that used their QuestBridge application in the early action round, or who decided not to rank or didn't match anywhere and applied in the regular decision round. We will talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But I just want to say, in addition to our Quest Scholars Network, we also have many other incredible support systems for first generation and low income and students of color at Yale. Those include our community initiative, which supports and empowers first generation and low income students. They do that academically, socially, financially, whatever it might mean and need. We also have 4 wonderful cultural centers at Yale that are a big part of our campus, as well as the Poorvu Center for Teaching and Learning. We have many other organizations and spaces for students coming from first generation or low income backgrounds, but I really did want to highlight those few so that if you're at Yale, you will be supported.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty a little bit. As I mentioned, if you are a QuestBridge finalist who ranked Yale, your application is going to be considered for what's called the QuestBridge National College Match. You probably already know that. So we try to in this chart, spell out the different options. So if you ranked Yale, you are in the match. If you didn't rank Yale, you have the option to apply with your QuestBridge application for early action or for regular decision. Quick note, if you apply through early action, you need to ensure that you are not ranking any colleges, and you'll need to make sure that you're not applying to any other school's early action or early decision programs, because Yale's early action program is what's called restrictive early action. Most of you have ranked Yale, so let's focus on this piece right here. Your application is already in our system. We'll talk about the application status portal in just a minute. And we have already begun our review process of applicants who have applied for the QuestBridge Match. So we are working right now very, very quickly. It's super intense this time of year because we're going through these applications and we are trying to identify a group of students that we want to tell QuestBridge about a month from now that we want to match with. So we are going to do a review of these files. We are going to do a full admissions review, just like the admissions reviews we'll do for all sorts of other candidates throughout the year. And once we vote in our committee to admit a certain number of these students, we're going to send them to the financial aid office. The financial aid office is going to tell us which of those students, using the exact same financial aid policies that we use for all different kinds of applicants, which of these students would qualify for Yale's most generous financial aid award. At Yale, we call that a zero parent share award. And we've got to get that sort of green light from our Office of Undergraduate Financial Aid before we can send the names of those students to QuestBridge. So I know this is a common question. You know, I'm not sure if I'm going to qualify for a zero parent share award or not. Should I apply, you know, through the match or through something else? The simple answer here is that if QuestBridge has named you a finalist, there is a very good chance that you're going to qualify for zero parent share award. We won't know for sure until the really amazing people at Yale's Office of Undergraduate Financial Aid do that full review. So even the quick cost estimator, that's an amazing tool on our website. It can't give you a definite sort of piece here. Again, back to my initial piece, the stakes here aren't high. Admissions policies, financial aid policies, they really are the same regardless of how you come through your application. So I do not encourage you to kind of think about switching around because of one of these things. If Yale submits your name to QuestBridge and say, we want to match with this student, and Yale is the highest school on your ranking list that tells QuestBridge that they want to match with you, then December 1 is going to come and you're going to find out that you matched with Yale. And what that means is that you've been given an offer of admission. You also have this zero parent share award. And this is a binding admissions process. So it means, woohoo, you're done. You are done with college applications, folks. You are coming to Yale. You're getting Yale's most generous financial aid award. Do a dance, go tell everyone, run around, you're done. It's all finished. So that is how the match works. If you decide that you don't want to rank Yale, you would have the option to apply through early action. You can see the very sort of parallel options here. The admissions process through early action and regular decision, those are both non-binding. So if you're admitted through those, you have the chance to submit other applications, to connect with campus communities. We hope that folks can visit campus, this spring before they make their decision. But that's one of the things to keep keep in mind. Our financial aid policies, as I said, are the same. It might be possible that a student who is a QuestBridge finalist doesn't quite qualify for a zero parent share award. That doesn't mean, however, that they are going to have a really hard time affording the Yale experience. They're still going to be giving a very generous financial aid award, one that's going to meet their full demonstrated financial need. A key point, and Corinne's going to talk about this in just a second, is that if you apply through the match and you don't match at Yale, that is not the same as being denied. I'm going to say this again. If you apply to Yale through the match and you don't match come December 1, you've not been denied. In fact, your application is going to automatically roll into our regular decision process. And as Corinne mentioned a second ago, we have tended to admit more students through the regular decision process than through the match. So your story is not over. Similarly, you might apply through early action and you might be deferred, in which case you'll be sort of rolled into the regular decision pool. You might also have not ranked Yale. Whatever else you did, you will have the option come December to apply to Yale with your QuestBridge application through regular decision. So the logistics are a little bit different for early action regular decision. Regular decision, it's really as simple as checking a box, and you can check that box after you find out from other schools. If you already ranked Yale, you don't need to do anything. It's already moved along. If you want to apply for early action and you're not ranking other schools, you do need to send an email. There's some text in one of the emails that we sent a little bit earlier that'll explain kind of how you do that. Here's the big question though, and I'll say it again. Will applying through the match or early action or regular decision, will it change my chances? No, it will not change your chances. Why might you want to do one of these things over the other? Because people are different. Your experiences are different. The way that you want to organize your college search process is different. You do you. That is our mantra for QuestBridge students. You do you. You've got all these options. It's not going to change your chances of admission. It's not going to change your chances of financial aid. So just think about kind of how you want to get your applications together, when you want to be getting information about what options you want to have open at different times, and that'll help you think about this. But again, I want to say if you are a QuestBridge finalist and you've already ranked Yale, you are in great shape. Your application's already in. You're going to find out December 1 if you've matched at Yale or somewhere else. And regardless of what happens then, it's not at the end of your story. So Corinne's going to talk about what happens on the big exciting day. It's a holiday in our office, December 1st, QuestBridge Match Day.
It is one of my favorite days. We get dressed up, we take pictures. It is so exciting. But it's not the only part of this process that's exciting. Before I launch into this December 1st day, I really want to echo Mark and just spend a moment de-emphasizing the match. There are many reasons why a student might not match to Yale that have absolutely nothing to do with the strength of your application. So please be confident in the application you provided. Don't leave that day thinking that you need to withdraw your application or submit something else. We will do a full review and regular decision if you don't match. And we, again, admit even more students in regular decision with the exact same financial aid. So just keep it calm. That's kind of our motto of tonight. Everything will be all right. But when it comes to December 1st, there are really only 3 things that can happen. First of all, as Mark mentioned, there is no denial happening on December 1st. That is not an option that any of us have to give to any student. Students who participate in the National College Match, they will either find out, 1, they match to Yale. Yay, super exciting. Again, as Mark mentioned, binding decision, you're done with the process, you have the best financial aid that we could possibly give, and you can enjoy your senior year, right? Number 2, you could find out that you match somewhere else. This is also amazing. The same things at the other school will happen. You will get a great financial aid package. You'll be excited. You're done with the stress of the senior year process, and you're all set in an amazing institution. On our end, if that happens, we'll withdraw your application from our pool because you are all set. Now, the third thing that could happen if you're participating in the match is that you might not match anywhere. And again, that can be for many, many reasons. It does not say anything about the strength of you or your application. As a QuestBridge finalist, you should already know your application is great. We're excited to read it. What happens then if you don't match anywhere? We will roll that application to be reviewed again in our regular decision round. You do not have to do anything at this point or change anything. The only thing that we'll be looking for when it becomes available, usually in January or February, is your mid-year report with your updated transcript from that first trimester or quarter or semester. And then you will get a final decision from Yale at the end of March. I know that that's a little bit longer to wait and that can be a little bit stressful. It's not December 1st, but again, you're not at a disadvantage in any way in this process. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mark to cover a little bit more about those next steps for what happens at this point in the process.
All right, so if you are a finalist who ranked Yale, you should have received a bunch of emails last week. One of them told you about this event, so you've at least gotten that one, which is great. There's an important one that you should have received Thursday morning, so on October 22nd, that gave you instructions on activating your Yale admissions status portal. If you have not received that, if you've not activated your portal, go back into your email, look in your spam inbox. We've heard from some students who have, lost their email in there. If you can't find it, you can shoot us an email just with the questions link on our website, or give us a phone call, and we can resend that email to you. But again, if you're a QuestBridge finalist and you ranked Yale, you should have received an email Thursday morning last week that gave you instructions on activating your Yale admissions status portal. This is important because this is where you will be able to check the status of your application materials. All of your QuestBridge application materials got sent to Yale. Now, QuestBridge does their review very, very quickly. They have virtually the same requirements that we do, but occasionally we come across students who's didn't have an official transcript with QuestBridge. We do need to have an official transcript, so if that's missing, you will see that on the missing on your checklist, and you want to make sure that someone from your school sends us that updated transcript. There's a great link on our website for school counselors to submit things like transcripts to us digitally, so you don't need to worry about getting it in the mail or anything like that, but do check that checklist to make sure that you've got everything. There are 2 important forms that you'll need to fill out on that checklist as well. I want to talk about this testing form first, and I'm going to let Corinne talk about the longer form, the QuestBridge questionnaire. The testing form, this is a 1-question form. It is just 1 question. It's yes or no. It's, do you want to have ACT or SAT scores considered with your application? And I know that this is something that kind of feels like 3-dimensional chess, but I want to, again, take you a step back. Many of you did not include testing with your QuestBridge applications, which is just absolutely fine. I want to start, this whole discussion by saying Yale's test optional this year, and we really, really mean it. It's new for us, but it's not a super disruptive experience. We've been launching in to reading already, and it's just not changing things in dramatic ways for us. And the reason for that is that our process is always a holistic process. It involves a whole person contextual review. I tell folks it takes me about 20 minutes to read an application typically, and less than 20 seconds of that is usually spent looking at a student's test scores, regardless. So if you didn't submit test scores with your application, you actually don't need to fill this out because there aren't scores, and our default setting for everyone, because we didn't want there to be any confusion, you're set to no. So you're set to saying, sort of right now, your scores are not visible to the admissions office, even if you submitted them on your QuestBridge application. If you want those scores to be included, though, you need to go to that form and select yes. Why might you want to do this? Well, you might have scores that you feel really good about. You may, have recently also included new scores that you want to have updated on your application. So I want to make clear just a little bit of kind of branching logic here about this form. So if you select no, and later you receive scores, because I know some of you took the test just recently, or you're planning to take a test later on this year, you can update that. You can change your response, and you can do it at any time. Meaning if you're going to take the test in January or February and you're a regular decision applicant, you can update that later on. It is very easy to go from no to yes at any point. It's not possible to go from yes to no. And the reason for that is that, like, we as admissions officers, we can't unsee things, right? So we can't promise you, oh, you had said yes, and then, we're not going to consider it, with those scores. So I want to say, sort of first and foremost, I think there's no general sort of rule of thumb here. I can't say, well, if you've got this score or, this level, I know there were some questions in advance that were kind of like, if my scores are below the median, should I not include them? And I want to make clear, we are used to seeing scores across a wide range, even when they're required for everyone. It's not a formula that's determining whether someone gets in or not. I think generally speaking, if you included scores with your QuestBridge application the first time around and you were named a QuestBridge finalist, obviously, that's probably a good sign that you would want those scores included in your application. Not a hard and fast rule whatsoever. There might be all kinds of reasons why you say, no, for QuestBridge that made sense, but not, for Yale, I'm not comfortable. Totally fine. Big picture here. Saying no is not going to disadvantage your application, whatsoever. So do not second guess that decision. If you say, you know what, I'm not comfortable with my scores, or don't have them, or I'm not sure if I'm going to get them, no is an absolutely fine place to be. But again, if you've got scores you feel good about, even if they are below what you see as the median scores for Yale or something like that, if you included them in your QuestBridge application, you felt good about it, you were named a finalist, think about including them, because it's just another piece of data for you. So super simple form, kind of complex explanation of it. Sorry for the long-winded response. Corinne, take it over and talk about the QuestBridge questionnaire.
Absolutely. So just when you all thought you were done applying to colleges, or at least with this QuestBridge application, here we are asking for a little bit more information. The QuestBridge questionnaire, after you filled out your application, were admitted as a finalist to QuestBridge, it got sent to Yale, you got an email from us saying, hey, can you do these things? Don't worry though, it's very easy. The QuestBridge questionnaire only asks a few questions. The first one is for you to list 3 areas of academic interest. So basically we're asking you, hey, if you looked through our 80+ majors, what 3 kind of stand out to you? You are absolutely not held to any of these at Yale. It is not a declaration of a major. You can put undecided. You can come in on your first day and do something completely different. It's just to kind of give us some knowledge about what you might be interested in, and to make sure that at the end of the day, after we admit a class of students, we have enough professors to teach those classes, right? So up to 3 majors that we're looking for. We can put a link to that list of our majors in the chat for you all. Now, the second piece kind of goes right along with that. It's sort of what we call our academic answer, or why are you thinking about those areas, or what might you want to do in the future with those things? It is absolutely okay if this is very similar or even identical to what you put on the QuestBridge application. Some of the majors that we have might be a little bit different than what you were able to select before. The naming or the wording might be different, or we might have something that wasn't on the QuestBridge application. And so this is for you to be able to dig a little bit more into that. Tell us why you're interested in it, but it doesn't have to kind of reinvent the wheel or be something completely new. Now, the third question, kind of the big one that everyone always asks about, is that why Yale? Why do you want to come to Yale? Why do you see yourself there? First of all, I want to say that you absolutely do not have to visit campus in order to be able to answer this question. We read fantastic why Yale essays from students who have never even crossed the country at that point. We have so much information on our website, so many different websites of different departments, those tours and the information sessions that we linked to before. We also are offering live student forums and live STEM student forums. There are so many ways to gain insight into the Yale experience. And so what we want you to do here is really talk about what it is that has drawn you to Yale. That could be something about our academics or our departments, an activity that you want to continue or might have never had the opportunity to pursue before, but we have it at Yale. We really want you to think about what might you gain from Yale, what might you add to Yale. All of those are valid things to talk about there. My one kind of tip on this is that if you write up that why Yale piece and you took out Yale's name, and kind of 90% of that essay still made sense if you put in another school's name, you might not quite be there yet. I'd encourage you to do a little bit more research or dig a little bit deeper into what we have online for you. Now, I want to make a quick note on supplementary materials. That's definitely something that we are seeing in your questions. We on that form allow you to tell us if you are going to plan to submit any of our art supplements or a STEM supplement. So that's kind of where you would put that. There are a few other options that you might be able to choose if you are interested in ROTC, for example. If you come from a Native or Indigenous background, there's a Native Peoples questionnaire. All of those you can kind of find there on that same Yale admissions status portal and the same QuestBridge questionnaire form that you'll fill out for us. Another question that we get a lot, and maybe I will turn this one back over to Mark, is what if I did the common application or the coalition application questions preemptively? I was so excited about Yale. I looked on the website. I already wrote them. Can I submit them? What do I do? Mark, do you want to address that one?
Yeah, so I'm going to sort of talk about the other things that you might think about updating with your application, and also address this question that I'm seeing a lot coming into the Q&A about, like, can I change something? So the simple answer is no, you can't change something. Don't let that freak out. Don't lose sleep about it. Again, you've already gotten good, a good response to what you've put together. You can't change things because it's not we can't go through like an X out parts of an application and say, oh, no, someone wanted this instead. And, we get all fussy about the deadlines and things like that. So your application is in, it's what we've got. If you feel like, man, there is something new that I want added, or as Corinne said, there's something that I put together for something else that I want you to see, there is a super handy application update form that you'll find on that status portal. I'm not going to encourage you to, pile stuff on here, right? Like more is not better. And just from experience, the overwhelming majority of successful QuestBridge applications have not, piled a bunch of stuff on with their original QuestBridge app. We know that application very well. It gives us absolutely everything that we need. What it also includes are those 2 letters of recommendation, as well. So you shouldn't feel that you need to go asking new people for letters. If there is though something new, that application update form is right there. Even if it's just to kind of make you feel better, like that you share this with colleges, by all means, use that form, but know that it's going to be in addition to what's in your application. It's not going to be a matter of swapping things out. And it might also be the case if there is someone who's writing another letter of recommendation for you, someone who's insisting. I'll mention this is something good to talk about proactively as well. Yale does require that your 2 letters of recommendation from teachers be from core academic subjects. We sometimes see QuestBridge finalists who used different recommenders for the QuestBridge application, as that's not a strict requirement with QuestBridge. At Yale, it really should be from someone who's taught you in one of the core academic areas. So primarily English, foreign language, science, social studies, or math. Something like computer science would fall into that as well. But if it's someone who's, say, your choir director or your marching band director or something like that, if that's one of your 2 letters of recommendation, I would encourage you to connect with another core academic teacher and ask them to submit a letter on your behalf. They can use the same form that I talked about earlier that counselors can use to submit a transcript or something like that. But again, if you've got 2 core academic recommendations, you should feel really good about that, and you shouldn't feel that you kind of need to add on, for more for that. So use that form, use the tools on the portal to give us more information. And the last thing I'll say about this, and then I'll turn it over to Corinne, is that the status portal is going to give you the status of required application material. It's not going to tell you the status of things that might be supplemental. So if you were to submit a music supplement or something like that, that's not going to show up on there. Currently, and a little preview, currently it's not displaying financial aid documents either. We are working, hopefully sometime in the near future, to be able to make that appear. We're going to talk about financial aid in a little bit, but do want to sort of say that right now, the admission status portal is just for admissions documents. It's not for financial aid documents, so you won't be seeing status updates. It might be available later in the cycle if we get the technical things worked out. We're trying to make this a possibility, but is going to be admissions and not financial aid. And for now, you should really think about those as 2 separate offices. So if something's missing from admissions, connect with admissions. If financial aid reaches out and something's missing there, you should make sure that it's going to financial aid. So Corinne's going to talk about interviews.
Thanks, Mark. All right, so after kind of this November 1st, everything's in, you're just waiting. What might happen? Well, one of the things that might occur is that you might be contacted for an interview. Now, it's important to know that applicants cannot request interviews, and they're done based on our own availability. So if you don't get contacted for one, don't worry. You might be contacted as early as this week or next week. It might be a month from now. If you're in the regular decision round, it might be 3 months from now. Just don't sweat it or read into it. We are, especially in this virtual world, doing what we can, getting to the students that we can, but we're not ever going to penalize a student for not having an interview. Now, the person who contacts you, if you are contacted for an interview, might be a student or an alum. It doesn't make any difference. Generally, these interviews will last about 30 minutes, and this year we're going to conduct all of them virtually. So that's kind of what it might look like. We will be offering them again, kind of in this match round, in the EA round, in the regular decision round. So even if you're not contacted now, if you are applying in the early action round, or you don't match anywhere and you're in the regular decision round, it could happen a little bit later. Don't worry. When you are contacted for an interview, you can kind of expect them to reach out, maybe ask for your availability. Again, usually those 30-minute time periods. This isn't something where you have to dress super formal or anything like that. It's really a conversation. Our interviewers are trying to get to know you and learn a little bit more about who you are and who you might be on our campus, but it really is just a chat. A lot of our interviewers are younger. We have student interviewers. So in many cases, it's also an opportunity for you to ask them about what it's like to attend Yale. With that, we are going to move into what I know is flooding the Q&A right now, questions about financial aid. I know that that is a more dense piece, but we are excited to talk about it. I'm going to let Mark start, and perhaps we'll trade off a little bit here.
Sounds good. So full disclosure, Corinne and I are admissions officers. We are not financial aid officers. So we are going to do our best based on our lengthy experience with students going through this process. But the more technical pieces, we're going to encourage you to reach out to the Office of Undergraduate Financial Aid. And that's the first thing I want to start with, is that the Office of Undergraduate Financial Aid, full of fantastic, super helpful, wonderful people. We're going to talk about what they are going to be requiring. But again, take a deep breath. One of the wonderful things about working at a place like Yale is, we've got a lot of money, which means that we can offer great need-based aid. It also means we don't run out. It means that we are able to operate a holistic financial aid policy, just like we offer a holistic admissions policy as well. So just like we are real people who read admissions files, they are real people who read your financial aid documents as well. So if you've got questions, if something is not clear, if you and your family are going through these forms and you're like, something just does not fit in these boxes, the financial aid office is able to understand and incorporate those things into their process. So I want to start with that. They would like to have that stuff in by November 1, but I actually want to make clear this is not a hard and fast deadline. It is very common for students to be missing some piece of the financial aid puzzle, often just because their family finances are complex. There's some other piece of information that the financial aid office needs in order to determine a student's eligibility. Guess what? When that happens, we don't just say, oh, no, they're missing something. Reject, can't match the student, don't bother admitting them, it's not going to work out, or you can admit them, but we're never going to know what their financial aid award is. No, that's not how we work, folks. We want to give you the information that you need. You obviously need to know how much it's going to cost before you make your decision about where you're going to be spending 4 years. So the folks at the Undergraduate Financial Aid Office, they are awesome about ensuring that they get all the information that they need to give you the information that you need in order to make your decision, which is to say, that if something's missing, if something's not in the right place, they will reach out to you. So I completely understand the anxiety about wondering, all right, how are we going to get these things in, and what if it misses the deadline? I understand there are lots of things you experience in your life where deadlines are deadlines, and if you miss it, the stakes are high. Fortunately, this is not one of those things, folks. So what do you want to submit? You want to submit the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. If you are not a US citizen, whether you are living abroad or if you are in the United States, whether you have DACA status or not, you do not need to complete the FAFSA, but other folks, US citizens and permanent residents, you should complete the FAFSA. It generally makes sense to do that first. You'll also submit something that's longer. It's called the CSS profile. All of this stuff is online. I'm old enough that I remember when all this stuff was faxed and financial aid office was just drowning in paper from all these things. Now it's all online. So start with FAFSA, submit that online, then go to the CSS profile. And once you've submitted this CSS profile, you will be able to submit a parent's tax returns via something that's called iDoc, which is an imaging service that's connected through CSS. You'll need to submit the CSS profile first before you're able to submit iDoc. when you're completing the CSS profile, depending on the information that you put in there, you will probably automatically qualify for a fee waiver, so that is not a burden, for you. So you're not asked to pay the fee. It simply won't show up, the asking for a fee if you qualify. If that shows up, you can very easily reach out to the Office of Undergraduate Financial Aid to request a CSS fee waiver. And there's actually a pretty clear process on the Undergraduate Financial Aid website for requesting that, getting what you need then to submit without needing to pay the fee. So that's the sort of the main three pieces. There are sometimes some other pieces that financial aid office will need. If your parents own or operate a business, there's oftentimes additional information. They try to proactively provide that information on the website, but I found in my experience they often need a little bit more, and so they might be, again, reaching out to you. That might happen sooner, it might happen later. It doesn't really mean anything at all. Don't lose sleep over it. But again, don't need to worry about the that sort of piece of things. We're going to get you the information that you need. If your parents are divorced, or if your parents were never married, there is the option to request what's called a non-custodial parent waiver. So Yale's financial aid office is the sort of typical sort of default setting is that they'll want to get the information from both parents, including a non-custodial parent. They understand, and we understand, that there are lots of situations where a student's non-custodial parent is just not in their life, whatsoever, and where it would just not make sense to provide financial information. But in order for them to understand that, you'll want to fill out this form. Maura, thank you so much for putting it in the chat there. So it is a relatively straightforward form, but you'll want to read it in thoroughly, and it does ask for a third-party verification of that as well. Again, if you and your family, if you're not able to get that together by November 1, don't sweat it. It's okay. We're going to get that information in when we need it. If they're missing something, financial aid office is going to reach out. They are going to contact you if you're missing something there. Also want to point out, we talked about, and I shared a link to the form that educators can use. The financial aid office also has a link right on the front page of their website to upload other documents. So the FAFSA, the CSS profile, the tax returns through that iDoc, that can all happen online through those online systems. So you can just very easily say, I'm filling out this form, I'm applying to Yale, send all this good stuff to Yale. If you've got other stuff, including that non-custodial parent waiver, or if you know that you need to submit something else, the easiest thing to do is just to go to finaid.yale.edu, and right there on the front page, you'll see a link to upload additional documents. That's the easiest way to get it to us. I know there's a super little teeny tiny minutia question that folks have about the CSS profile makes me say early action or regular decision. What is it? The match is in this bizarre liminal space between the two. Guess what? Either's fine. Either's fine. Early action or regular decision, doesn't matter. There are big problems in the world. This is not one of them. Don't sweat it. You're going to be just fine, with that. So I'm going to let Corinne, take it from here and cover anything that I might have missed.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a moment to talk about what does the financial aid actually cover? This is a question that came up a lot, and I think it is a great question in terms of, is this just tuition? No, it's not. At Yale, our financial aid package for both QuestBridge Matches, QuestBridge Finalists, and anyone else who applies, we're taking into consideration tuition, housing, meals, travel, books, all of that. So you can be assured that if you are applying to Yale as a QuestBridge finalist, through the match or not, we are going to give you the best financial aid that we can, and we're taking all of that into consideration. For all of our QuestBridge matches, or anyone who's admitted to Yale who has that $0 parent share, we also have something called a startup grant that is $2,000 at the beginning of a student's first year that helps them get things like a laptop or a winter jacket that they might need. We also have different programs on campus like Safety Net, where students in the middle of the year, something might come up, they might need to fly home, they can request funding for that, or other things that might come up that were unexpected. So our financial aid is very comprehensive, and it's important to know that if you are matched or you do apply, we are doing the best possible work that we can and giving you the best aid package that we can. Other than that, I think that Mark, you touched on a lot of great things there. All right, so we're reaching the end of our PowerPoint, which is great. We're really excited that we're going to be able to come off of the air and show you our faces in a much larger format in a second and answer some of your live questions. But a few things that we've been getting are just questions about general advice in the process. And I'm wondering, Mark, if you want to talk a little bit about whether the QuestBridge application is different, if it's better, if it's worse. Is it like the other ones? Why would someone use that?
Good question. So I'll begin, start with, seeing some questions here about, could I switch my application around? Is going to be some advantage if I do this? And the simple answer is no. If you are in for the match right now, your QuestBridge application is your Yale application. It's, you might get a decision in December, you might get a decision later, but that's your application and you should feel really, really good about it. Our process, as I said, is the same, regardless of how or when students apply. As Corinne mentioned in the beginning, we've been a QuestBridge partner since 2007, so everyone on our staff has a lot of experience reading QuestBridge applications. Those of you who've spent some time looking at another application platform have probably already seen, like, there's not a really big difference between the QuestBridge application and the other applications. That's one of the reasons why we're comfortable, and encourage students just to submit the QuestBridge application. As you saw when you completed this application, it gives you a lot of opportunities to share your story, to talk about things that are important to you, your academic interests and long-term planning, your background, your community context. All these things are really helpful and insightful for us. And I want to make clear that we don't go into a QuestBridge application expecting any particular type of story. I mean, Corinne and I love, and our colleagues too, but the two of us especially, because we're on screen, we love reading these applications, in part because there's such an amazingly rich diversity of experience and backgrounds that are reflected in them. So it's not the case that we sort of go in with a particular set of glasses saying, well, only this type of student is who we're looking for in the QuestBridge application. What do we see from students who are QuestBridge finalists? They are very accomplished. They are very bright. That means everyone I'm talking to in this webinar, you're accomplished and you're bright. You're going to be an impressive applicant to all kinds of selective colleges. You all have that in common. And all in common, these students are from lower income backgrounds. That means a lot of different things. And so, for some students, there are, elements of that background that are front and center in the application. And other parts, it's really just completely in the background and not what you've chosen to bring forward. So again, know that the same sorts of priorities and values that the folks at QuestBridge headquarters in Palo Alto, had in mind when they were reviewing your applications last month, they're the same kind of things that Yale admissions officers, and by the way, 41 other colleges and universities will be considering when we are, considering your applications for our schools. So no three-dimensional chess. Your application is done. You should feel really, really good about that.
Thanks, Mark. I definitely agree. And ultimately, the QuestBridge application, like all of our applications, we're really just looking to see how students from whatever background they're from might be shaped by that identity and who they might be on campus. I want to talk a little bit more about what we're looking for. And I guess generally that's the same as we are with any applicant. We want to find students who are the best fit for Yale academically and socially. So when we're reviewing your application, those two things are at the forefront of our mind. And we're particularly looking for students who can both add to campus, but who will also actively take advantage of all the different resources that we have to offer. And that's one of the reasons that we asked for those QuestBridge questionnaire pieces to be answered. That's what we're trying to kind of get out of that. And we don't necessarily need all those extra supplemental pieces on the common application or the coalition application to get at that, because you've given us so much already in the QuestBridge application that it makes it kind of easy for us to just ask these couple other things. We want to remind you all, and it's very important to remember, that Yale is proudly affirmative for students from lower income backgrounds, but QuestBridge is not the only avenue for those students to apply. And when we come across a QuestBridge application, we know that we're looking at a student through the correct lens, but it doesn't mean, again, that they have to talk about that background or that it might have had some immense impact on them, right? If it has, that's great. We'll take that into consideration. But at the end of the day, you're just applicants, and we're trying to see if you're a good fit for Yale. And so really, what we hope you have already done, and if you haven't filled out that QuestBridge questionnaire, what we hope you do is really just be your authentic self. Write for you about what's important to you, not what you think that we want to see. I think that we're pretty cool and fun and funny, and if we're not that, don't tell us, because we like to think that. And that means that we'll understand it. We will be compassionate. We will be looking at you within all of that context. And that's truly the same advice I would give to any student applying from any different platform. I don't know, Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about the QuestBridge questionnaire. I was looking through the Q&A and saw some more questions, about that. So do want to first say, if you are a student who ranked Yale, you do want to complete that by the end of this weekend. So yes, we do need that information, and it is essentially the last part of your application to Yale. I'll say as an aside, like, not completing that doesn't like withdraw your application. It's just, we're going to sort of say, well, this person hasn't filled this out yet. What's going on there? So if you do want to change your mind about something, like just not filling out the QuestBridge questionnaire, like that doesn't change your status or do anything, for you, right there. If you've not opened this up, I know we've been talking about it a lot. It's super straightforward. Like, I know that we're spending the time to talk about it because it's kind of the last active piece for you all, but you're going to open it up, and it's just really not scary. There are, and I'm going to encourage you to be sort of straightforward and just honest in how you respond to these things. I think particularly the why Yale question. I know we included a link, in the chat to a podcast that I co-host, and we had a whole sort of fun episode that's about kind of the little stuff in an application, including this question. And my advice for this question that we mentioned there is that I often find that the most successful ones are the responses that are kind of in the past tense. If you look at the way that the question is worded, it says, "What about Yale has led you to apply?" And Corinne mentioned all these great ways that you can connect with Yale and learn more about it. And we sort of expect that all of you who are here today, having ranked Yale or considering Yale, you've already kind of figured out, yeah, this is a place where I think I might like to spend 4 years. That space is not designed for you to sort of give us a big Wikipedia entry about Yale. Like, I don't use that space to learn more about Yale. I use that space to learn more about you. So make sure it's in the first person, and make sure it tells us a kind of past tense story about, well, what happened? How did you go from just being a high school student that was considering lots of different colleges to zeroing in on Yale as one of the schools that you wanted to apply to? Make that a personal story. And I want to say, as Corinne mentioned too, we don't need to see, well, because I visited campus and because I had tea with this Nobel Prize winner and I've done all these great things. It could simply be, it caught my interest. I was interested in QuestBridge, and I saw that it was one of those schools, and I did a little research, and I said, that sounds interesting, and that was enough for me. Like, that's great. That's your story. That's what we're looking for there. So don't feel that you need to go do a ton of research and like use this space to make this case for all the spectacular things that you're going to do at Yale with this professor in this space and all that. Really keep it focused on your experience as a 17 or 18-year-old getting to the point where you've decided that you want to apply to Yale. That's what we're interested in there. It's just sort of like, what homework have you done, and how have you reflected, individually to sort of make that connection. I'll use that to expand to a sort of larger point, which is, as you guys have already figured out, the admissions process at Yale is not one that's mechanical. We don't have some sort of supercomputer that we have programmed with an algorithm that's designed to unweight your GPA, multiply it by your highest ACT subscore, and then divide it by your social security number to tell us if you're going to be admitted or not. Similarly, Corinne and I, we really like our jobs. Maura, I just combined two names. Maura, Wendell, and Darrow, who were behind the scenes, they love their jobs too. If our jobs involved being just bleary-eyed bureaucrats with a big rubber stamp that said reject on it. And we were just spending all day going to the salt mines looking for reasons to reject students. That would be a horrible job. I would have quit long, long ago. So there are real people who are reading your application. There are real people who are making decisions on your application. And those real people are having real conversations about you. And those conversations really revolve around two big topics. Like if you wanted to ask, like, what are you looking for? What is Yale looking for? I would identify two things that our process is kind of designed to optimize for. It's designed to optimize for students that we think are going to add enormously to our environment, whose experiences, backgrounds, interests, opinions, ambitions, talents, etc., are going to make Yale better. I think that the 6,000 students enrolled at Yale are the best academic resource that we can offer. So we want students who are going to add to that and make Yale better. We are also looking for students who are going to take away an enormous amount from the experience, right? Yale is a place that has more opportunities, resources, experiences, chances to study abroad, do internships, work with professors, do research than any student could take advantage of in just 4 years. So we need to admit students who are hungry to take advantage of those kinds of experiences. So I started by saying congratulations to all of you. I want to kind of, start wrapping things up by also saying congratulations because your application is done. And I want you all to just feel good that, as I said, you're going to go to a great college, you're going to be able to afford it, and there's going to be real people who are going to have the privilege, truly the privilege, of reading about your stories and your experiences over the next few months. That's something that Corinne and I are really looking forward to, and really, really appreciate all the work that you guys have already put into your applications. Truly, it's something that we, as I said, we love our jobs, and we love our jobs because we really do get to see so many spectacular students and their unique stories that they have, shared with us through their applications. That's really a very special experience.
Thanks, Mark. We definitely love our job and we love reading these applications. And because Mark covered that so wonderfully, I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes here as we wrap up talking back to the beginning, those technical process pieces. As the person who answers almost all of the QuestBridge related questions that come in through our inbox, and seeing that our amazing colleagues have answered almost 170 live questions at this point, and yet there's still over 100 that we haven't been able to get to, I am going to provide you with a few tips and a little bit of information. So I am about to put in the chat a link to where you can submit questions that we might not have been able to get to. Again, it's mostly just me, and a lot of things can be found on our website, so be sure to check out the links that we've already submitted. But that is where you can go if there's something that you are really wondering or you really need to know. You can submit it through there, and it'll likely end up right in my inbox over the next month or so. We do answer them pretty quickly, usually in a 1 to 3 day turnaround, just so you're aware. Now, some of the questions that I've seen coming up in the Q&A and that I actually already get a lot in that inbox, I just want to address very briefly. So first, we do need official transcripts. A lot of you have been asking, my counselor submitted an unofficial transcript to QuestBridge, but there's not a green check mark next to that. First, I want to applaud you for checking that portal and seeing that those things might be there, might be missing. You are on the right path. If there's not a green check mark, that means that we don't have an official transcript. And so again, we can see that that is something that you want to submit. You can put it through the counselor portal, and that needs to come from a school official. We can't accept any of those from students. That's very important. Now, on the other side of that, some of you might have seen a green check mark, but you thought that it was only an unofficial transcript that was submitted. No worries. That just means that because it came from your school official to QuestBridge, that we count that as an official transcript. If there has been an updated transcript since then, again, your counselor can just follow that path and submit it through what Mark just put in the chat, our link for counselors. But that does have to be official. Along those same lines, we do need, as Mark mentioned earlier, 1 counselor letter of recommendation and 2 teacher letters of recommendation from academic subject areas. If they have not submitted those, or maybe they didn't make it to QuestBridge on time, they can still submit them to us now. We can review them. We will take them after the November 1st deadline. All of that is fine. Back to where you can see all of this. Check your status portal. That's where you can see if your application materials are missing, if there's something that we need from you on the admissions side. Now, if you're wondering about financial aid, if there's something that might be missing over there, they will contact you, okay? If they need something in order to complete that financial aid process, they'll reach out at some point or another. If you have questions that are specific to financial aid, like Mark said earlier, we know a little bit about a lot of things, but we're admissions officers. We're not financial aid officers. So please contact the financial aid office directly. If you submit those really technical financial aid questions into our questions portal and they end up in my computer, I'm not going to be able to answer them. And probably my answer back to you is going to be, contact the financial aid office directly. So that is the best thing to do right off the bat. That's all I have from the person that handles those questions. Mark, anything to add or to wrap us up here?
Just want to say thanks again, guys. Thanks for putting together your applications. Thanks for spending an hour with us. We know that you are super busy right now. We appreciate it. We hope this was helpful. We'll put the recording up on the website tomorrow. We'll send around an email about it. Again, tell your friends if they missed it. Thanks again, guys. Hang in there. Have a great fall. And again, feel really, really good about where you are. Congratulations to each and every one of you. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks again to Maura, Wendell, and Dara behind the scenes. We really appreciate you guys. 100+ questions. That's awesome. And have a great fall, guys. Thanks a lot.
We can't wait to read your applications.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.